Okay, good evening. This is a meeting of the Groton Board of Education being held on, let me put my video on. Okay, being held on August 10th, 2026. This meeting is fully remote tonight because we have voting at the central office in room 11 where we normally have our meeting. Today in attendance, I'm trying to get my video on. Let me see. Come on. Okay. Today in attendance, we have board members. We have Jen White, Ian Thomas, Jay, Adrian Johnson, I'm sorry, Andrea Ackerman, Sean. I think Sean is on, or let me see, Sean's on.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Sean and Mitch. I think I have, and Ian Thomas.
Yep.
And we have plenty of staff tonight. We have Denise Doolittle, Mark Romano, Matt Brown, Dr. Mancini. We have the superintendent, Susan Austin, and Samantha Singleton. And I think I have everybody. All right, so thank you all for attending. And the first order of business, it's reviewing the minutes of June 15th, 2026. It is attachment number 1 in your packet. I only have one correction. It's on under Roman numeral 6. It says the consensus of the board to request town funding. It should say after vetting from an architect on the project. And that's my only correction. I don't know if anybody else has a suggestion or correction or comment about the minutes. Okay, if not, the minutes are approved as amended. And the next item is the climate survey. And I know the board is anxious to get a report on the climate survey. So I'll turn it over to Denise, unless you want to say something first, Susan?
No,
Denise?
We've reviewed it, and the Climate and Culture Committee is the committee that always works on this survey. They work on the questions, any updates, and the state had provided some good advice for us. Denise will take us through and tell you what's different, but what's the same. It's mostly the same, but there are a couple little nuances. So, and then of course, Lauren Cassini has done a great job with the charts and graphs, and you gave us a few questions to contemplate today, Beverly, and I said that she actually has some answers to those questions tonight.
Okay. Mitch has his hand up. Mitch, you have a question?
No, it's a mistake.
Okay.
Sorry.
I do hear some background noise. I don't know if someone's not muted, and I'm hearing some, I don't know if you can hear that. Kate, do you know?
It's Mitch.
Oh, okay.
Mitch,
and then do you see Lauren Cassini and Denise online?
Yeah, we're here.
We're here.
Okay, thank you.
So while Lauren, thank you everyone, good evening. While Lauren is getting the presentation up, I just want to remind everyone that in April of 2025, the State Department of Ed issued school climate improvement guidance to all districts that actually was aligned with legislation. And there were many components to the school climate guidance and legislation, namely the development of school climate improvement plans, which we've worked on last year, the identification of school climate specialists in each building, and of course, the response to challenging behaviors through a tiered intervention approach. And of course, the restorative practices policy, which we reviewed at the end of July. One of the other requirements in the guidance was an annual or biannual, which they interpreted to be every other year, school climate improvement survey. Now, this is something that in Groton Public Schools, we were already implementing an annual climate survey. However, the change that impacted our district was that the surveys were required to be reliable and valid. In other words, they discouraged surveys that were developed in-house. So we, with many other districts, explored options that were available in terms of research-based surveys. The committee, I say we, I mean the School Climate Improvement Committee, in conjunction with our superintendent, decided on the School Climate Improvement Survey that is available through the Positive Behavior Intervention and Support Initiative through the University of Oregon. This is a research-based initiative. It's known as by its acronym of PBIS. It came into being about 20 years ago, and it supported districts in looking at behavior in terms of challenging behavior and responding in a positive way. So implementing interventions and supports, which is obvious with the name. They also have a great database called SWIS that allows districts to input data in terms of discipline and then disaggregate it in terms of where those discipline incidents are happening and when throughout the day, and what exactly, are the most common incidences that are occurring. So we felt, given all of that information and our familiarity with PBIS, we felt that the survey through PBIS was a good match for our district. You'll also see as we go through the results tonight, we were able to align the questions in the PBIS survey to many of our questions in I'll call it our homegrown survey, our home developed survey, so that we're able to provide you with a look back in terms of, this is how we performed this year, and then we can compare those results to how we performed last year. So all in all, we felt that that the survey was a good match for our district for all of those reasons. Are there any questions before we dive into the results of the survey? No? Mitch?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I see the numbers that you have up here, and I've got a hard copy of this as well. For the grade 3 to 5 students, you had 755 surveys completed, and then for secondary, you had 924. So it seems to me that's not a lot of the students in the system. What percent is the 755 of the total population of grade 3 to 5?
I'm really glad that you asked that question, because one of the differences with the survey through PBIS that we used this year is that they don't recommend surveying students in grades kindergarten, first, and second. They feel very strongly that their comprehension skills are not necessarily developed to the point where the results would be considered valid. So the difference with the elementary students is this year, we only surveyed students in grades 3 through 5, whereas last year we surveyed students in grades K through 5.
Okay, I guess my question is, of the 755 students, how many students were given surveys?
Okay, I can answer that. So
Yeah,
out of the 3 to 5, grades 3 to 5, there were 957 students. So roughly 82%, 83% of the 3rd to 5th graders completed the survey. At the secondary level, there was a total of 1,745 students, and 924 completed the survey, which is roughly 36%.
And that's, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so to give a little context, thank you, Lauren. The students take the survey in school, whereas the links for the link for the survey is sent home to parents through Parent Square, and the staff members take the survey during a staff meeting.
Okay. Denise, my handout has different numbers than what you have projected on the screen.
Yes, there was an error in the version that went home in the packets, and Lauren caught that error and corrected it today.
Okay. Mitch, you all
I'm
set?
sorry about that.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay,
You're
we
welcome.
have Jen had her hand up and then Sean.
I was just
Jen?
going to make the same comment, so I'm all set for now. So,
Okay.
the one that's being presented are the correct numbers.
Yes. Yes. We're
Okay,
sorry about
perfect.
that.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, Sean?
So my question a bit is about kind of transparency across the schools. And I would like to see this data, the number and percentage of respondents by each school, broken down by student, parent, staff, and um, with these 82% participation rate, why aren't we getting higher rates when the majority of our students are in school? Is it just given on one day? And if they're not there, they don't take it? Is it given over a certain amount of time? I think those numbers should be in the 90s personally.
Sure. So at the middle school, it's given either during homeroom or advisory. At the high school, it's administered during CTL, commitment to learning. And at the elementary school, those students are with one teacher all day. So it could be that, students were absent. It could be at the upper level that students chose not to take it. The survey is made available at the secondary level, but, some students obviously, chose not to take it.
And I think an 82% rate on any given survey is really pretty tremendous. And you're right. If they were there, they might have participated. They may not have, but
I
it
would
was
agree
a day.
I would agree on most surveys. 82% is phenomenal, but you have these individuals present in the building.
Mhm.
And just because someone's out one day doesn't mean that it can't be given to that student on another
Mm.
day. I just think we should aim to get as close to 100% as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Was 80, Denise, 82, how many students did not take the survey? Do you know that?
Well, 83%, Lauren just said, of the elementary students in grades 3 through 5 took the survey,
Mm-hmm.
and 36% of the secondary level students took the survey. So we had obviously a much lower completion rate for the secondary students.
And why do you think that? I'm with Sean on this, because 36% when they're in school, why is that? Do you have an idea?
Well, the only idea that I have is that the students did not prioritize it. They did not feel it was important to take the survey. They could have had other priorities during that CTL that they felt they needed to attend to instead.
Well, Matt Brown's on the line, so maybe
Yeah.
he could address that.
I mean, Denise is correct. We push them to take the survey. We keep it open for about a week. Our CTL teachers are asking them to complete the survey. They're not looking over their shoulder as they're completing the survey, though. I am surprised. I think that's lower than it normally is. I'd like to go back and see where our numbers were in previous years, because I do think that's low. So maybe the time that we did the survey is different. I honestly do want to look back to see how much lower this is than previous years. But again, they're asked to do it during their CTL class. They're not required to do it. And I guess that's where the numbers are at. But we did make a push for them for about a week to complete the survey during their CTL class. They are moving around in CTL as well to get extra help in other classes. So that may have impacted, so their advisory teacher might have asked the class to complete the survey. There was a dedicated day for them to complete the survey. So I think we can reflect and maybe come up with better ways to get those numbers higher, like, keeping them all in their CTL during this time so that to ensure that they've completed it. But
Denise,
I do want to compare this to previous years.
yeah, I asked for that.
I was surprised by that number.
Do you have that information, Denise? What was it last year?
Well,
do.
we have. Yep, go ahead, Lauren.
So last year at the secondary level, we had 1,252 students complete the survey. So it is a significant.
1,000. Can you say that again?
1,252 students. And I do have this, I'll send it out to you, so that you have it in written copy. I can send that out to you later if you'd like. to the board. So that is, close to 300 less for the secondary level. Last year we had 815 students at the grade 3 through 5 level complete the survey. So that is also lower by about 60 kids.
But also, I'm not sure how we could, how are we going to require the kids to take the survey? We can ask them to take the survey. We post it. We give them dedicated time during CTL to complete the survey. I would hope it to be higher than it is, but it's not a required survey.
Now, one other component that might be impacting this is that PBIS for the secondary level has two versions of the survey. They have a brief version and an extended version. The extended version has 36 questions, while the brief version, I have to look, I think it's like 11 questions. So we chose the extended version because it gives us more information. So it could be that the students felt that the survey was too long and maybe they didn't complete it.
How long does the survey take?
The survey should take 20 minutes for the secondary level.
Okay. Dr. Ackerman has a question, and then back to Mitch, and then back to Sean.
Yes, I'm a little unclear on what is the problem with dedicating a certain amount of time and saying you must complete the survey and collect it. And there's no choice of, oh, well, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. You have to do it. And just collect it at the end. And if it's not complete, give it back until it is complete. What am I missing here?
Well, one factor, Dr. Ackerman, is they complete it electronically. So we're not collecting a paper survey. We're asking them to log into the link on their Chromebook and complete it electronically and then click submit.
I see. So how problematic would it be to do it on paper?
Well, it would be a challenge in terms of disaggregating the results.
I see. I think we need to impress on the students that they need to complete that survey online or however they do it, and that it needs to be submitted, and there's no choice here.
Yeah, and maybe we need to work with Mr. Brown in terms of making the window a little bit longer instead of 1 week, maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
No, I would say you make it one period, that's it. And then if there are absences, then you do another dedicated time for anyone who was absent. Mm-hmm. But if you do, 2 or 3 weeks, you're never going to get it. It's going to be results like this again. You just have to say, this is done.
There might have been other things that kids were doing. So if they could have a designated CTL or a designated advisory in the middle, then that whole period, they wouldn't have other competing interests going on.
Yes.
This is also during AP and IB testing, and there's a lot going on.
Well, we shouldn't be doing it then. If we want a good survey, don't do it.
But that's near the end of the year. So it would be, it's a little more difficult to do that at the,
I think
you don't want to do a survey.
We got to figure out a way.
I think we have to figure out a better way to get this. We have issues in the district. We have issues with performance. We have issues with attendance. If we don't understand where our kids feel and the issues, I mean, look at elementary, 45% of kids indicate they don't want to be in school. We'll talk about that when we get there. That's ridiculous. Also, the fact that less staff in 7 grades took this than the elementary staff is ridiculous. How do we understand where staff is? We should give some kind of incentive for people to take this. This is data that we need. This is data that we should be making changes on based on the feedback here. And the fact that these numbers are so low and we're making excuses that, oh, that's because of testing time. I think that is ridiculous.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Mitch, and then Jen, and then Ian.
Okay. First off, seeing as I'm a substitute teacher up at Grasso in the high school, I envy Mr. Brown because I think that's a tough one to get kids to respond to. But I wanted to find out more data relative to what percentage of the staff actually filled this out. I see 203 surveys for grades 3 to 5, and then 132 for the secondary. How many teachers or staff people were handed this survey or given it?
Sure. This year it was 173 for the staff at the secondary level.
That's how many completed it.
Right. So
In
that's
seventh grade.
actually that's an improvement from last year.
And I will
Okay.
share on that. We everybody's has access to the survey. We do dedicate faculty time for the survey, but that faculty, unfortunately, is only the teachers and the counselors. It's not paraprofessionals or tutors and so forth. So that's definitely something we can reflect on and make sure that we dedicate a certain time period when we have both the paras and the tutors available. But I do think, at least at the high school, from the numbers that we got for the teacher responses was actually pretty high. I would say close to 90%, everybody that was at that faculty meeting.
Okay, so that was 90% about.
Without looking, I honestly have not looked much. Yeah, I glanced at the surveys. I didn't realize we were, I didn't prepare myself to speak towards the surveys today because I was planning on presenting on other stuff later. So I'd have to look at it a little bit further. But I do think we had a good amount of our teachers respond to the survey. I can't speak towards the number of paras and tutors because they weren't really given a dedicated time like during TLI or another time when they're in the building to complete it. But they did have opportunity to fill it out.
Okay, thank you. What about for the elementary? We had 203 surveys completed out of how many staff?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we can certainly get that to you.
I have like 900, I don't know. I have like 965 teachers in the elementary level for grades 3 to 5.
900?
It could be wrong. I mean, I did a quick tally from the budget book. So my numbers could be wrong. Don't go by that.
So according to Lori Lapine, we have 416 certified staff in the district.
In the whole district.
In the whole district.
Yeah, teachers, social workers, school sites, those kind of people.
Nope.
My mistake. That was students. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. There are 416 certified staff, which would be the majority, as I think Mr. Brown mentioned, right, with paras, and there wasn't a dedicated time. So if you're looking specifically at the certified staff at this point, that's roughly 90% of the surveys completed as a whole. I don't have the information broken down by elementary, certified, and secondary, but I can find that out for you.
Yeah, it comes to 376 out of 414 completed the survey.
We may even want to choose a TLI in the spring where everybody has the opportunity instead of just a faculty meeting so that we dedicate some of the time for everybody.
Yeah,
I think
that
that
makes
would be a
more
good
sense to
solution.
me. All right, I'm going to jump over to Jen and then Ian and then Sean.
Hi. I'm not as, I think when we're developing a survey, because Denise, you had mentioned it was like over 30 questions. I think you had said 37, if I was correct, if I wrote that number down. I personally wouldn't want to take a 37 question survey. More doesn't necessarily mean more information, as you can tell from the response, right? So less is more sometimes. So having like max like 15 to 20 questions, but those 20 questions correlate to one another and it sort of shows would be a better example. So maybe next year, let's not aim for the 37 questions. I just know me as an individual. And I can definitely, sympathize or empathize with the kids who are grades 3 to 5 and then the high school students. Like, I personally probably wouldn't have filled it out myself. So in this regard, let's just take this one as, hey, we'll do a better job of putting a survey together, in my opinion.
So Jen,
That's
the
it.
elementary survey is 11 questions.
Oh,
And
okay.
the secondary survey, there's a brief version, which is 9 questions, and an extended version that is 36. So we can try the brief version next year and see if we have a better response rate.
Yeah, because all you're trying to do, right, is get a temperature gauge, right, of how the environment is within the district. Where with this survey, if you select the right questions, you can get a good feel, right? Like how the district's doing. Unfortunately, this isn't like work where we have to fill out like maybe like 90 questions. Um, but it asks the same question multiple ways, and it's trying to triangulate. Um, we have students here, and I just I just don't think 36 or 36 was correct, in my opinion, is the right way to go. So sometimes less is more. You can ask like 2 to 3 regarding like climate, 2 to 3 regarding work environment, 2 to 3, whatever it may be. So to get like 9 to just get a feel, or if there's one particular area within the district that we think we're doing poorly at, let's focus like 5 questions or 4 questions, however it may be.
Yeah,
But 36 questions
Jen,
is a lot.
just remember, we're not
Hmm.
able to cherry pick questions. We have to use a scientific research-based survey. So we could use the brief version, which is 9 questions, but we have to administer the survey as it is, as it has been written.
Okay, then that's fine. I'd rather have a higher response rate with 9 questions than a low response rate with a lot of questions because towards the end, and I'm not saying all students are this way, but towards the end, they'll probably just be like, yes, no, yeah, 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 and everything's in the middle and you're not getting a full view. So anyway, thank you.
I also,
Thanks
I'm
for
going to
this.
add, and this is not an excuse, but we also are I think we have to reflect at the high school level of when we're giving surveys. Obviously, this one needs to go at the end of the year, but we are surveying our kids. Honestly, they have a gas survey. There was like 4 surveys back to back to back to back, and I think that gets old after a while, especially at the high school age. So that's another thing that we can look to fix.
Yeah, Matt, you cut out a little bit there. So, but
Oh,
from the gist of it, I think you said that they had 4 surveys that they need to complete, and I don't know
there's
how.
just Yeah, they're over
Yeah,
surveyed to, and
yeah,
I think it's more about a timing thing. We just have to
ex-
we have to spread out when we're surveying on the different things. So,
exactly. Maybe like this, here's like a survey, right? You survey them when they first come into school, right? New coming in
mhm.
from summer, and then you survey that same population, let's say I don't know, April, May timeframe, right? And then you could get a feel for like, hey, how did things change? Did it improve? Like, especially if you are implementing something, then you can sort of change instead of like what you're saying, like in the last like 2 months of the school year. Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's work a little bit better with
Well,
that.
there are
Definitely.
different surveys. It wasn't the same type of survey, but we had a gas survey, we had a University of Michigan survey, we had this survey. The timing was not good.
So Matt, like that university, I apologize for my appearance here, but what is that for and why is that something that we could utilize instead of like giving them another survey?
No, it's more about substance abuse and mental health.
Mm. And
It's not about the school climate, but
yeah, and who's that for? Because maybe we could just be like, yeah, we're not doing that one.
well, and we could consider that, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
But
actually the Groton Alliance of Substance Prevention, and it's a very valuable survey and gives us a lot of good information. So I
Hmm.
think we've really honored that
we have,
over the
yeah.
years.
I just think the timing of the surveys we have to reflect on, not giving
Mhm.
them all at the same time.
Right.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
like the shorter version if we can try that out.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. we
That
can.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's do what makes sense here. Okay. Ian, Sean, and then Adrian.
Yeah, I just want to chime in real quick on ways to possibly incentivize and increase. I can appreciate what Sean was saying and Jen was saying, and also what Mr. Brown was just saying. Um, we have to be mindful of timing and frequency. Perhaps staggering them out would be better, but also like, do we still give like some class participation grades, that kind of thing? Is that a thing that's in people's grade books?
Matt, do
Not
we
not for
still
something
get
like this survey,
Say
and
again.
not for something like like completing a survey, especially in a advisory club. We don't give an advisory grade.
Is that within the realm of possibilities? Because that could be a possible way to just for a simple completion. Obviously, not grading the answers, but grading
Yeah.
someone completing the quiz, just giving them like an opportunity to get an easy A, thrown into their grade point average somewhere somehow. Um, might
I just
incentivize the students if that's at all within the bounds of good practice. I guess I'm not sure what the legalities there may be.
yeah. I think we have to reflect on ways to incentivize it. I don't think towards the grades, especially because there's just be too many factors of what subject area would that go to, because we don't give an advisory grade per se.
Right.
I think we can reflect on ways to incentivize it, but I don't think we would base it on their actual grades for courses, if
All
that
right.
makes sense.
Yep. That's fine.
okay, Sean, thank you, Ian. Sean, and then Adrian.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that not just the certified staff were offered the survey, because the language from the state requires that everyone be afforded the opportunity to take the survey.
And they were, at least at the high school level. It's just we didn't give them a dedicated time in the building. They had time in the building, but with the teachers specifically, we gave them time during their faculty meeting to complete the survey.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at before. They all had a good window of time to complete the survey. It just wasn't like a dedicated specific time for besides the teachers in the faculty meeting itself. But we heard you. We will probably have them complete the survey during a TLI during next year, as opposed to during a faculty meeting. That way we have all the staff there.
So
Yeah,
the
that would be very
surveys are
helpful.
the surveys are released to each principal and assistant principal, and obviously the school climate coordinator in early May. We pretty much have them completed during April break. So they're distributed in early May, and we leave them open for as long as they need. Some of the schools, we didn't close the surveys until until the last week of school. So there is a TLI day in there that I know some principals used to have the paras and the tutors complete the survey.
Thank you, Denise. I'm going to take Adrian, and then I'm going to move on to the next page. Go ahead, Adrian.
All right, thank you. One question to start with, Denise. You had said that that the state wants you to use a survey like put together scientifically, but do they specifically say that you can't add any questions that seem to be relevant to your district?
They do not. And in fact, you'll see we added 5 questions that were requested by the board to address special services that students receive. It was in the results of those 5 questions were inadvertently left out of this presentation, but we are going to share that with you tonight, and you'll get copies of that tomorrow.
All right. So we could take a scientific-based 9-question survey and make it a 15-question survey if we felt it relevant. Like
Well,
that's allowed.
Let me clarify. We didn't tamper or like change any of the PBIS questions. What we gave the PBIS survey in its pure form. We added 5 questions at the end.
Yeah. All right.
In response to a request by the board.
Yeah, and what my guess is that they are concerned about the wording of questions more than anything, that they want questions that they feel are worded in a manner that gives a better result or something like that, and they want a complete survey. But I'm saying that yeah, I know we had 5 additional, but I'm saying that there probably is a balance if we were to use the 9 questions and then just add in a few more that we felt were relevant for our district. Outside those 5 that you were just talking about that the board had asked for. So I'm just saying it seems like there's probably a little bit of black and white or a little bit of gray in there where we can add into a survey. We just need to keep the base survey in place. Second, I just wanted to basically say I kind of echo Sean's Sean's first comment on this. That we really need to put focus in. I mean, I know we have an IB Global Citizenship class, which to me seems like there's plenty of time in it where we could just make this part of that class. I know when that falls in the year might vary for students, but this seems like it would fall right into curriculum for that. But I'll leave it there, and hopefully we can kind of skim over some of the high school student responses, because they're really with a sample group that low. I don't really know what we could take that was how informative that is, because we're missing such a large sampling size. So thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. Denise, before we move to the next page, were you able to break down the secondary level for middle school and high school, those numbers for students, staff, and parents?
Yes, Lauren actually did that. Lauren, do you want to address that?
Yes. So at GMS or at the middle school level, we had 765 students complete the survey, which is roughly 89% of the total population. We had 108 teachers staff complete the survey, and we had 92 family members complete the survey. At the high school level, we had 159 students complete the survey. We had 65 staff, and we had 130 parent or family complete the survey.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, Denise.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, do you mind advancing the slide? Okay, Lauren is going to talk a little bit about the disaggregated data, and then I'll kind of wrap us up with the 5 additional questions.
Okay, so as Denise had mentioned, many of the questions on the PBIS survey really aligned with the questions that we had on our survey in previous years. And I tried to make that distinction between the slides, which one were really new questions and which ones, as you can see, we had some past year data for. So one question in particular deals with school safety. So at the elementary level, 77% of our students reported that they felt safe at school, which, while it's still not as high as we would like it to be, it was a 14% increase from last year. You could see at the secondary level, it's pretty consistent across the years with a 3% increase. And I believe the language here, the actual wording was exactly the same, that I feel safe at school. Hold on, sorry. For our elementary school adults, so parent survey, my student feels safe at school. You can see they clearly believe that the school is a safe place for their children to learn. Staff members as well. You can see it's consistent across the board that they're reporting feeling safe at school.
Those numbers are pretty steady.
Yep. They've been pretty consistent across the years, and they're reporting that they do feel safe. At the secondary level, parents, again, consistently, it has increased since 2022-2023 school year by 8%. So there's this nice steady increase there, but again, up in the 90s for feeling safe at school. Staff, you also see this continuous steady increase with an increase from 82% last year to 87% this year. So a 5% increase.
And were
you happy with those numbers, Denise?
Yes, I just want to comment. We did introduce the mutual link this year. And I think, those buttons are very visible on the lanyard of the principal. And I think it does contribute to an increased sense of safety in the building.
Yeah, because feeling safe is one of the biggest keys, and
You want to bring it over.
you want students to feel safe when they come to school. Mitch has a question.
Yeah, my question is for the parents, what percent of the parents responded to the survey?
So this is always, and we do talk about this each year. This is very difficult to gauge, like percentage wise, because you're talking about families where there's multiple children, or even across grade levels or across schools. So, or you have maybe two parents in a household or two guardians that may respond versus none in another household. So to get a really accurate percentage I haven't figured out how to do that in a way that really reflects the total percentage, to be honest.
Well, the more data you have, or better, the better representation of students would be a higher percentage. I realize that you're having trouble trying to figure that out, and I can understand that to a certain extent. But again, it doesn't make sense to me that we can do much with the data if we don't really know how many students' parents are reflected here. We got to find a better way.
So one of the things we've done, Mitch, is we have computers out during open houses and gatherings so that parents who do show up to those are encouraged to do it. But when you send it out to parent school, just like anything else we send out, you'll have those who choose to do it and you'll have those who maybe are too busy. But it's very hard. You can't mandate it. And you just have to send it out. And it seems like the spring is probably the busiest time for everybody, but that's when you can collect the data and they can kind of have a better, feeling about how the year has gone. So
I understand that. Okay. All I'm saying is I don't know how good the data is because of the fact that we don't really know what percentage of the parents filled it out. No, you can't make them fill it out.
No.
Oh, and I understand that, but you've answered my question, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, Mitch, I will just add that if it's okay, that we have parent-teacher conferences in the spring, and we try to have the parents. Well, we do have the parent survey available at the end of March, so that stations can be set up in the hallway and the entryway of each school for parents to take the survey. We've also have QR codes, so parents can kind of scan the QR code with their phone and complete it right then and there on their phone. So we've tried to get really creative in how we can increase the amount of parent completion.
We also have, I took a look in Parent Square just out of curiosity to see, how was it communicated to parents, and each building administrator had sent out a minimum of 3 communications regarding filling out the survey, completing it, reminders, and even at the high school, as an example, sent a message out before it opened to let them know it would be opening up. So it's not a matter of lack of effort or, communication.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Lauren, would you say about less than half of the parents filled out the surveys?
Yes.
Okay. So that gives you a good idea, Mitch. Less than half of the parents did.
And we find this also with the DODIA form. We have to get really creative to get parents to complete that form, in the wintertime. So it's not just the survey, it's some of those other really important forms as well.
Free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah,
So
but I guess
can.
the bottom line is we have to do better at getting these surveys completed if we're going to do it. So if half of the parents did not fill the survey out, I that's probably not a good sign. So I think that's going to be the tone throughout this whole presentation. We just have to do a better job. Sean and then Jen.
I'll just say, as a parent of a two students who are currently in school, one of them in the survey range, all I got was maybe a parent square message and an email or two. No certain, no QR code thing ever came home. Never saw that in the school. We definitely need to do a better job to promote these, and this data is so important for us to move forward and make decisions. It's concerning that these numbers are so low. I think we, as a district, need to make this one of our really North Stars of getting the most accurate and informational data from our families, from our students, from our educators that we can.
Thank you, Sean. Jen?
I know we're all saying that, the data is low, the response rate is low, but when you're doing surveys and you're looking at the N number for my math people there, Susan, Matt,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think we're still in a good position and we can still make a determination. So it's still good. Can it be better? Yes, but it's still, our N value is still in a good range.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay. And moving right along, Denise.
Okay, thank you. Lauren's going to walk us through the next cluster, which is related to school connectedness. We used to call this belonging.
Yes. So you could see at the elementary level, these are student surveys, and the first survey reflects I like going to school. This stood out. The decrease and the thinking about what could be the reason, the cause for that decrease. And the only thing that I really truly could contribute to this outside of this, this is how children are feeling, is that the wording for this particular question was a little bit different. So this year, the wording was, I like going to school, versus last year, it was, let me look at the exact language. Hold on.
I think it was, I like my school.
I like my school.
Yeah.
So I was curious, I was trying to put myself in a kid's brain, and I was curious about that. Could that impact this at all, and to this extent? I do think it's a little bit of a bigger conversation, just with the grade 3-5 administrators, to see what their take on this drop was. In terms of that trusted adult, which is what we use for our key performance indicators as we measure, against our strategic plan, how we're doing. This is one of the questions: is there an adult in the building, a trusted adult, that each child can go through? And 85% believe that there is an adult in the building that they could go to if they needed help.
Sean, you have a question, comment?
Yes. Lauren, thank you for saying that this jumped out at you. If we can go back one slide. This obviously jumped out at me as well. So the fact that 45% of our elementary school students, no matter how we worded it, indicate that they don't like school or don't like going to school is concerning. To me, this as a parent, as a board member, this really broke my heart. Elementary schools are a place where children should be safe, supported, connected, and want to be. If nearly half of our kids are telling us that they don't like school, I believe we need to understand why. This raises questions for me about some of the challenges we're having in the district connecting to attendance, behavior, and academic performance. Have we looked at the relationship between these results and attendance, behavior, and academic outcomes? That's something that I feel we should be looking into. If students don't want to come to school, it's going to be much more difficult as the years get on. This is really grade 3-5. This is elementary school was a place that I loved going to, was a place that really should have been a kid. For some of these kids, it's their safe space. And I'm also surprised that this was not one of the major takeaway in the key findings. The fact that it wasn't even mentioned in the key findings is really concerning to me. This is the number one thing that stood out to me when looking at this data. We had a 20% increase. I know the wording changed, but I don't think that's the reason. There's some there's something going on here that we need to address. I really personally have concerns with the transparency around these results. I feel like the data is being spun to be nothing but positive, but I feel like the deeper we dive into things, the more concerning this is. To me, having 45% of the elementary school kids saying they don't want to be in the school isn't not a footnote. This should be the thing we're leading and talking about and trying to fix right off the bat. I'm very concerned that this was not put on one of the highlights and one of the things that stood out at the end of this presentation.
And I have to say, I agree with Sean. I'm not going to go on and on. I'm just going to say I agree with Sean. There's Susan or Denise or Lauren or Anne Marie. Do you have anything you might want to say about this?
Well, I have several thoughts. One is it points to the need for us to continue on our journey with restorative practices, because 80% of restorative practices is building community. So we want kids to feel welcome at school. We want them to feel connected to their peers and their teachers. There's also a big push at our state level and nationally to reduce the amount of screen time so that students are interacting with each other more in a verbal way and in a cooperative learning way. So that is certainly something that I think impacts the connectedness that students feel. And then lastly, and that kind of connects to the cell phone restrictions as well, which we're really ahead of the curve on in terms of where we are compared to the new state guidance that was issued. But lastly, I would say that I find that students, and this is just my impression of students in grades 3 through 5, they tend to live in the moment. So if they had a bad day that day, they don't like school. It's a little difficult for students in grades 3 through 5 to look globally and to look at the big picture. So sometimes the results you get are the results in terms of how they're feeling that day.
And honestly, you're really seeing this for the first time. We will be working with the principals. We already have a fabulous retreat planned at the Nautilus Museum, and we will be talking about the climate data. And oftentimes principals will do a focus group and talk to kids afterwards about these things. So we'll come up with ideas to kind of dig into this and see what at each building, what is going on, what they think is going on.
All right. I'm going to, are you all set, Susan?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go over to Dr. Mancini and then Mitch and then Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the attendance because we did do a lot of work around attendance last year, and particularly we made some great improvements in the elementary level where we saw decreases anywhere, depending on the school, between 5 and 10%. And we saw in chronic absenteeism and then increases in the daily attendance rate. So while certainly not going to make any excuses for what this data says, we all probably feel the exact same way that Sean does. The attendance data does not indicate what it doesn't seem to line up with this. I would understand if it did, but we did improve our attendance rates last year, so that data it's not showing a correlation in that way.
And it makes me, Mitch, do you mind if I just jump in a hot second?
Go for it.
Okay. It reminds me of something that one of the members of the GEA said, and I don't know if there's a correlation on that, but they said that, they didn't think school was fun anymore, or we didn't do any fun stuff in school anymore. And I don't know if that would be a correlation with why kids do not feel like going to school. Do they not feel that we're doing any fun stuff in school anymore? I don't know. But that was something that was brought up at a GA meeting.
I have to say that with our intra-district magnets and the opportunity for real enrichment during the day and before and after school, that I feel like they do get that, but we do have a commitment to learn, and our focus is on literacy and mathematics, and our teachers are really learning these new programs and, trying to engage the kids, but it is a higher standard, and it might be a little more work for them too. I don't know, but I think we need to bring it back to the principals and have them really look into this and do a deeper dive.
Mitch, and then Mr. Johnson, and then Sean.
Okay, my question is, did any of the questions go deeper than just, do you like going to school or do you not like going to school? Was there anything further asked to try to figure out why the kids responded the way they did?
Sure. So the survey opens, that's the first question. I like school. And then the second question kind of delves a little deeper into that, and it asks them, I feel like I do well in school. And then the third question is, my school wants me to do well. So there's 3 questions around that topic to see if, you know, the responses are consistent.
That's it?
Pardon me?
I said, that's it? I mean, there's nothing there about, you know, the years ago, when I was in elementary school, I went to school with all my friends. They lived right down the street, and that had a lot to do with it. So there were only 3 questions related to this. It's a very important topic. I'm a little disappointed in that.
The survey for the elementary students is only 11 questions. So there's 3 questions around liking school.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and then they get into other areas, Mitch. They get into, you know, safety, trusted adult, and some other, and getting along well with peers. So they're all, you know, touching upon climate, but probing different areas of the school and school climate.
Okay.
Understand.
You all set,
Thank
Mitch?
you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay. Adrian?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll go back and again kind of echo what Sean said about you know, elementary not liking school. And I realize that if you're having a bad day, then maybe you know, maybe you would answer this question differently. But this is almost, you know, we talk about standardized tests across the state. I mean, there was, you know, 800 students or whatever it was in that slide we saw a little bit ago that took the test, and it seems unlikely that you'd have a large portion that are just answering on a day, on a specific day. So I think I wouldn't want to use that to discount, you know, this result, and the fact that this is a student that or the question that we've had continuously, or at least similarly, and we had such a large increase on it this year. So I also feel we need to get to this because if this is happening in the elementary and we're having increase of students that aren't liking school, this might have a major negative effect on us down the line. Because if you don't like school and elementary, when are you going to like it? So that's just my comment. Thank you again.
And then thank you, Adrian, and then Sean, and then let's move on.
I just want to say, I want to clarify my comment. I absolutely recognize and appreciate that attendance is improving. That's positive. That's something that we should be celebrating. But improved attendance doesn't change the fact that 45% of the kids who are in the building don't like going to school. There are 2 different measures really there. A student can attend school regularly and not enjoy being there, feel connected, or have a positive experience. In fact, if attendance is improving, that's a measure that I like to see. But my point is that our attendance challenges could be caused by students not liking school. And I was asking whether if we can look at if there's a relationship between those 45% of students' attendance and performance.
Unfortunately, though, this is an anonymous survey, Sean, which I would have loved that to be able to do that as well, but we don't know who the students were that completed the survey or what their responses were. So there's no way to take this specific information and correlate it to those other things. We can correlate the attendance to the performance, we can do the discipline, but unfortunately this survey is anonymous, so we can't.
Okay.
All right. Well, Susan, and when you talk at your retreat with the principals. Maybe you can get back to us at a COW meeting in September and let us know what you came up with to try to encourage students to like going to school. So
If you recall, each year when we really showcase the data from the prior year, the principals will have their data, all kinds of data that they have from the state. And we usually do have them review and reflect on their own survey data and come up with a goal. So I will ask them to continue to do that because I think that's going to be important too, is that they are reflecting with their school climate group themselves and really investigating and looking into this and do a deeper dive. So
but
that
I
might
thought I
take
heard
a
you
little
say you're
bit of
going
time.
to talk about it with the principals at your retreat at the Nautilus.
Yep, we're going to be talking to them about the overall results, and I'm going to ask them to do a deeper dive with their culture and climate committee
Okay.
and make sure that we respond to that when we're giving our data presentations.
Well, maybe you can give us some feedback from that
Okay.
meeting at the COW.
I'll see what I can
That's
come
what
up
I'm
with. Yep.
asking. Okay.
So moving
Okay,
on.
Denise.
Oh, sorry.
No, I said
Moving-
okay. Lauren, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So moving on to the secondary student survey data. Again, similar questions. The wording for secondary was, I feel like I fit in at my school. And I believe last year the question was worded a little bit different. It was worded, I feel comfortable. So it's similar, but not exact language. I feel comfortable at my school. And we see that, we're at 75%. There's a dip there. With, kids feeling like they fit in. And then the trusted adult, which again is a measure of our KPI as part of our strategic plan. I know an adult at the school that I can talk to, and we're at 82%.
Lauren, are they going to change the questions every year? Because that could, like you say, when they change the question, it could change the outcome to the student's answer. So are they going to do this every year?
I'm going to let Denise speak to that. I wouldn't think so. I think they just wanted us to change to like a research-based
Correct.
survey.
Yep. That's correct,
So no,
Lauren.
I mean, we wouldn't anticipate it changing year over year. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
Thank
try to
goodness.
keep them similar so we can look back. That's why you have these bars that go back to 2022, 23.
I'm sorry, just trying to get it to move forward. There we go. So our parent survey, the elementary and the secondary level, the question year over year, we've asked, I am comfortable talking to staff members at my student school. Overwhelmingly, over the past several years, they do believe that staff members are easy to talk to and they're comfortable doing so at both the elementary and the secondary level.
Any questions on this on page 12? Page 13?
And these are our staff surveys. And again, I feel connected to the staff members at my school. The wording last year was that I belong. I feel like I belong at my school. So again, the language is a little bit different, but can be, I think, compared. I think that's a fair comparison. So we do see that there was a slight decrease, a 6% decrease at the elementary level for staff, not feeling connected or feeling connected. And at the secondary level, a 3% decrease.
Okay.
And then
Any questions on that page? Okay. Page 15.
And I do want to just point out that for the staff survey, which I know we just answered, we actually we remain pretty close to where we were last year with the number of staff members completing the survey. At the elementary level, and then at the secondary level, we had a nice increase this year of about 40 staff members who completed the survey to answer those questions. So our social support and learning section. And I'm going to let Denise take this away.
Thank you, Lauren. So these were the 5 additional questions that we added to the end of the survey. And they really relate to parent feedback in terms of oh, I'm sorry, these aren't the 5 questions. These are the questions that are new in the PBIS survey that were not in the survey last year. So for the elementary students, we have, my school has clear rules for behavior. 88% of the students said yes. Adults in my school treat me with respect. 83% of the students in grades 3 through 5 agreed with that. Good behavior is noticed at my school. That was 67%. So that's an area that we need to work on in terms of students understanding that their good behavior is recognized. I get along with other students. 70% of the students agreed with that statement. And students treat each other well was 58%. So that is, again, an area where we need to build community and we need to build connections so that students are kind and considerate to each other.
Denise, when adults in my school treat me with respect, do the teachers clarify that question or explain it?
Well, a lot of this, that's a good question. A lot of the schools have a belief system, or they have a theme, and many of their themes involve respect. So, they will say on the morning announcements, at Charles Barnum, we are respectful, responsible, et cetera, et cetera. So respect is something that the students are familiar with because it's also taught in Second Step, our character education curriculum that we have at the elementary level. So for the most part, I can't speak for every student, but it is a term that is used widely throughout school.
Thank you, Denise.
Yeah.
Any other questions for on page 15? No, thank you. Next page.
So these are questions that were on the secondary survey that we did not have last year on our district developed survey. Doing the right thing is important to me. We were so gratified to see that 96% of our students at the middle school, high school level feel that doing the right thing is important. Similarly, honesty is an important trait to me. 94% of our students felt that they related to that. I know a student at my school that I can talk to if I need help on things such as homework, class assignments, projects. 90% of the students responded that they agree with that statement. But an area, again, that we need to focus on is students at my school treat each other with respect. This is something that they don't necessarily feel that students are treating them with respect, but they often say they feel that they have an adult that respects them and is connected with them. So it's that peer-to-peer interaction that students, I think, have concerns with.
I also wonder if social media has an impact on that, or just students who think that they're being funny and it can be hurtful or harmful, not respectful at all. So I think that's another area that, we'll have our principals, even bring focus groups together about these results. I can see that happening at the high school easily and middle school to say, what do you think this is about?
Mitch has a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. This is based on 36% of the people who responded. I'm not surprised that the first 3 categories are in the 90s%. Okay, obviously these kids care. They filled out the survey. Okay. As far as the one significant thing I think here that you can go on, which was addressed or talked about, was the students at my school treat each other with respect, only being at 68%. Okay. because that was filled out by, if you will, the top 36%, which are the ones who filled out the survey. So I think this data isn't really any good because we had such a poor turnout at the secondary level. I'm done. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. It seems like the students at my school treat each other with respect on the secondary level, and students treat each other well on the elementary level, are almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are areas that we need to target. So
Yeah.
that will be included in our goal setting for sure.
Okay. Teaching and learning.
So at the elementary level, it lists the students, the 3 different surveys that were conducted, all of them around the question of high standards for achievement. So my school has high standards for achievement, or my students' school has high standards for achievement. Parents believe that this is, I'm sorry, I skipped the slide. I apologize for that. At the elementary level, all 3 groups believe that the standards for achievement are high at the school.
That's pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the secondary level, the surveys indicate parents and staff believe that high achievement standards are high, while students, only 72% of the students believe the standards for achievement are high.
Lauren, again, on the elementary level, can you give me an example? Have the teachers would explain this? My school has high standards for achievement. How the elementary kids understand that?
I have it written down. The wording for the elementary students is, thank you for reminding me. The wording for the elementary student is a little bit different. I believe it's, oh shoot. I'm going to need to get back to you. I thought I had it written down. The wording for the elementary level is a little bit different. It doesn't say high standards for achievement. I believe it says something along the lines of wants me to do well.
My school wants me to do well.
I believe that's
Yeah.
the language.
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize for not bringing that up.
That's okay. That's okay. Sean?
If I'm looking at that data correctly, 17% of our staff are saying that our school does not have high standards for achievement. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's very concerning, that our own staff doesn't feel that we have high standards for achievement. And the percentage isn't the full percentage, but that's very concerning.
Yeah, we would agree with you. That is concerning.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I think we're going to go to the KPIs here. I think that should have been highlighted in the KPIs. I feel like all the KPIs are positive, but this data, as we're discussing it, is not all positive.
Well, no, we don't want to present to you just the positives. We want to present the areas that we need to continue to work on.
Well, then I think we should release the entire results for all parents to see. I'm going to put just letting you guys know, I'm putting a request in to Susan tomorrow that the full results of the survey be released to parents, and because that has not been done in the past.
Is that something you can do, Susan?
Yes, I will look into it.
Okay.
I don't know how fast I can do it, but I can look into it for sure.
Okay. Send the email, Sean, and CC me on that if you don't mind.
You will get that email tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Sean,
Yeah, I have
when you-
next to that on that survey, not good, not good. Also, I was concerned about that in the secondary surveys. So, Mitch has his hand up.
Just a note. I don't know if you want to mention the percentages of people who responded to the surveys. So some.
Can't hear
Mitch,
you,
I
Mitch.
can't hear you. I think you must be muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay. I was questioning as to whether or not we should also put in when this information is released, what percentage of the people actually answered the survey.
Okay. Is that something you could do?
The parent piece is very challenging because you don't, every family comes in different sizes and we don't know who out of the family is responding or for how many or children. So I don't know that you could really make that statistically viable.
You can't put in what the percentage of the parents who answered the survey? You can't. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you wouldn't have the total, necessarily the exact total number. I can look into it,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mitch?
I was also thinking of for the high school, the fact that only 36% answered the survey. That of the students, you know, I think that's worth mentioning in there too. Can we do that?
We could. I just want to tell you statistically, they say there's no real single percent that guarantees reliability. But on general online surveys, 10 to 30% is acceptable, while 50% or higher is excellent and gives you better data. So I think really to really try to get as many as we can is going to give us even stronger results. But in the world of statistics, that, you know, really you do get an idea of what's happening when you have 30%, let's say, but 50% or higher is going to be better.
I think Mitch is just asking, can you give, when you release the survey, can you tell them what's the percentage of parents that answered the survey and the percentage of students? Is that what you want, Mitch?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Nice, short and sweet. That's all he wants.
Yeah, the issue with the parents is, you know, if you have a two-parent household or a single parent household, that's why it's hard to calculate the
Exactly.
percentage of parents.
Yeah, you can't do it exactly. You can say approximately.
That's fine.
Well, yeah, then say approximately. Yeah, say approximately. All right. Next page. Lauren or Denise?
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So with the takeaways with the focus on the KPIs, so relating it back to our strategic profile.
Can you tell us what KPIs mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, key performance index. So it's the measures that we as a as a district came up with to determine if we're meeting or working towards our goals for our strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's key performance indicator. It's how we're measuring our success against or in relation to our strategic plan. So grades 3 to 5, the percent of students who identified in a trusted adult has increased by 13%. That is one of the indicators related to our strategic plan. 82% of grades 6 to 12 students can identify trusted adult, which decreased 5% from last year. With this, 90% were able to identify a peer that they could go to for help. More than 80% of the staff across K-12 feel connected to staff members at the school, and an overwhelming percentage of families continue to report year over year that they feel comfortable talking with staff members at their school. And safety, we always try to include it because it continues to be a priority, and that's something that will always be in the forefront of our work.
And the last one, while parents and guardians overwhelmingly agreed students were safe, safety will always be a priority. Dr. A.
Andrea, did you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. I asked it and then I realized I was muted. So my question is, and I apologize for the way I'm phrasing this. However, what on earth does overwhelmingly even mean in terms of this response? What is that? What overwhelmingly uh continue to report every year that they feel comfortable, blah blah blah. But what does overwhelmingly mean?
I think it means a large percentage.
Yeah, what does that mean?
High 90% across year after year.
Yeah, I don't want to see words like overwhelming. If you'll bear with me, I don't want to see words like overwhelmingly in a survey. Um, uh, uh, in looking at a survey, it doesn't mean anything. The 80% means something, 82, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't tell me anything. I don't know what overwhelmingly to you or overwhelming to you means. It might mean something different to me. So,
I think we're just trying to summarize a key takeaway.
okay. Well, now you know how I look at it.
I think maybe the majority of families report year to year.
Yeah, that's better than overwhelming.
Thank you, Dr. A. Mitch?
All I was going to say is I agree 100% with Dr. A. It's never a word I would have used in writing a letter to the Navy asking them for $1 million for something. Okay. I think it should come out. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about the survey presentation? I don't see any hands, so thank you, Denise, and thank you, Lauren.
We have one more screen, Ms. Washington.
I'm sorry. I didn't have it in my packet. I forgot about it. I'm sorry.
This is the page that we inadvertently omitted from your packet. And these are the 5 questions that we added to the end of the survey. So you can see the 5 questions, you can see the responses, elementary, secondary. The first question talks about how satisfied, and these were only given to families, how satisfied the families are with the services their child is receiving. So they were 90% and above. And we kind of quantified them in terms of academic services, social, emotional, or behavioral services. The second question was, do you feel the school's progress reporting for your child accurately reflects their strengths, needs, and goals? Examples, the way we report, there's many ways we report progress. So we asked parents to reflect on report cards, IEPs, 504 plans. And the response was 91% were in agreement for both elementary and secondary. The third one is whether or not parents felt comfortable participating in meetings with school staff. And again, we gave some key indicators for them to reflect on, such as parent-teacher conferences, planning and placement team meetings, and Section 504 meetings. So the responses, again, were 97% agreed at the elementary level, 92% felt favorable about participating in those meetings at the secondary level. The fourth question, do you feel that your ideas, concerns, and suggestions are considered when decisions are made about your child's educational program? Again, 94% at the elementary level agreed with that, 91% at the secondary level. And then lastly, do you receive timely updates about your child's progress, accomplishments, concerns, and/or changes in services? 92% agreed at the elementary level, while 90% agreed at the secondary level. So we were very pleased overall with these results.
Any questions or comments about the family survey?
I just want to say this data is great to see.
We were very pleased to see it as well, Sean.
I think it was a good suggestion of the board to add this, and we wanted to make sure we put examples so that they could see for all students, whether they receive some intervention or maybe even some enrichment, or whether they're, have an IEP or 504 accommodation. So we really tried to stress that this is for all of our students. We want to see these kind of results and maybe even to see them improve in some ways.
Okay. Anyone else? Sean?
No, that was from before. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you again, Denise and Lauren. And
You're welcome.
Susan, we'll look forward to hearing your report at the COW meeting when you ask the principals about how they can make improvements on some of the board's concerns. So, moving on. Thank you again. The next item on the agenda is the lottery update, attachment number 3, and that is with Lauren.
So these are the lottery results that from the lottery that took place the springtime. We had the lottery drawing for next school year, the 26-27 school year. And just as a reminder, and I did share this with you last year, that the timeline and the work that goes into the lottery is really a year-round process. It begins in early November when we begin reviewing policy, updating the lottery application based on feedback or things we noticed the year before, upgrading system features, and community outreach. In January is typically when the lottery window opens. It's usually mid to end of January. Our registration also opened for the 26-27 school year in January, as it does every year. And we really begin to focus communication to new and returning families, K-5 families. From February to March is really the bulk of the window. We do a lot of community outreach. We begin really taking a close look at enrollment and comparisons from year before. We send out what's called the intent to return form. So because of the transiency of our district, and particularly the military, or families moving, we just like that feeler. There are families who do intend to move, and to have a good understanding of how many families, at least as a snapshot, are not planning to return to Groton for whatever reason. We do have that. We begin generating retention lists for the following school year, which also plays into how we determine the number of seats available. April is typically when we run the lottery. We do the drawing. The window closes, applications are vetted. We look at a variety of data points. We determine seats, and then we draw the lottery. In May, we really monitor enrollment, seat acceptance, who declined, open any additional seats if it's applicable. And then that process continues throughout June, July, August, and we continue to monitor that and offer magnet seats to placements for new military families in particular where applicable. And this is really, again, it's a year-long process, and throughout this whole thing, we're promoting those K-5 magnet themes across all the elementary schools to drive that interest. And so what that lottery process actually looks like, so once we open or close the application window, we vet all the lottery applications to ensure accuracy of information. So we look at the addresses provided, have they matched it to the correct attendance zone school that they would be attending. We look at choice seating accuracy. So example, like, is there someone who's saying they want to go back to their home, what is now their attendance zone school? We look at that. We work with families to determine what their choice really is. Was it done in error? Is this true to what they're looking to do? We look closely at those siblings, making sure that if they identify as having a sibling in a school, do those siblings line up? Is that actually the case? We look at that homeschool priority. So someone who may be in a different school but would like to return to their attendance zone school, and we look at grade levels. We compile a variety of different data points that helps us determine the number of seats that will open. We look at enrollment at each school and grade level. We look at specifically at like how many students are currently there, how many are rising. Based on that intent to return, how many will not be joining us again the following school year? How many new student registrations do we have in the portal at that time? How many students, if any, are on a retention list? So there's a number of different data points. What is our total sibling priority or homeschool priority? And then we analyze those patterns. So based on the information we have from each of those applications, we begin cross-referencing that lottery demand in and out of each school at specific schools and specific grade levels across those preferences and the impacts that they could have. We do try in all possible cases, if there's a sibling at a particular magnet school, we do try our best to ensure we open at least that amount of seats for the school so that siblings can remain together.
Lauren, how many students were retained this year? Do you know that offhand?
Offhand, no. It was not a large number. It was a very small number. I'll have to look back into that. I don't know off the top of my head.
It tends to be more of the younger children.
Can you get that information to me?
Yeah, I can look it up while I can probably get it to you before the end of the night. I just have to go into a different window to open it. So I don't want to do that because of privacy.
Yeah,
But when I'm not sharing my screen, I can check that for you and get that back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. And so this is a seated summary report. So if you're looking at it, it has the different elementary schools, how many seats were offered at each school is in the first column. So we opened, when we say offer, we mean we opened 26 seats at Catherine Kanowski based on based on all those various data points that we had. Again, we try to get as close to and as accurate of an opening as possible without overwhelming the school so that families that may move into the district, we're not doing enrollment caps. We're trying to prevent that from happening. Of those
Lauren, when you say seats offered 26, that means 26 seats for students outside the Catherine Kanowski school zone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
In rare cases, it may include a child who's in the CK attendance zone, but was placed outward. Maybe they had been in the lottery and want to return. They would have to go through the lottery to get back in, but they're given a preference. So kind of like that sibling preference. We also have that home attendance zone preference as well, or priority, we call it. But those are far and few between. Those are minimal. The seated, so we offered, as an example, at Catherine Kanowski's 26 seats, we seated 22 students, and then we waitlisted another 22 students. And so this just shows you how those seats were opened, who filled those seats and who is still on a waiting list to enter that particular school. It's important to note that wait list could be a family that's waitlisted for more than one school. So you can't line up the number of waitlisted and the number of seated to get your total number of students. I don't know if that makes sense. But like in that waitlisted column, there could be a family that's on the CK weighted list, but also on the Mystic River weighted list, depending on the grade that they applied for. Because there are certain schools and certain grade levels that typically are there's a higher demand.
Dr. A has Lauren, can Dr. A ask a question?
Yes. Can you just give us an idea of how you determine who is to be seated? What kind of a question do you ask, or what rationale do you use to seat or not seat?
So this is generated automatically. We don't place students. The system does. So it goes into this application pool. It's through our enrollment portal. So it's literally a lottery system. We don't touch the applications. It just literally spits out for us which kids are seated. So we put certain information into the system. Like, as an example, we want to open 6 seats in kindergarten at Mystic River. Okay. And so let's say you have your first choice, your second choice school that you've put in for. Do you have a sibling preference? Do you have a home school preference? Okay, or, I'm sorry, priority. They're weighted more. So when the system runs, if they're like if they have a sibling priority, they're weighted more, so they're more likely to get into the school.
I see. Thank you.
Does-
That's what
okay.
I want to know. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, no, we don't touch any of the applications.
Okay.
So just a breakdown of kindergarten placement. These are the different schools, obviously, Charles Barnum, Catherine Kanowski, and so on, which are listed down the left-hand side of the page. And across the top is the attendance zone. So as an example, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor?
I can
Oh,
see
you
it.
can. Awesome. Perfect. So these are the schools that they put in the lottery for. And these are the schools that the kids are coming from. So as an example, for Catherine Kanowski, 3 students from CB were placed in kindergarten at Catherine Kanowski. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So you can see that the most kindergarten students that were placed was at Thames River, and that was a total of 8 from Charles Barnum. Okay, with a total of 14 at Thames River across all the schools. The most kindergarten students placed outside their attendance zone was at CK. Same concept when we look at our grades 1 through 5, our lottery seated schools are down the left-hand column and our attendance zone school is across the top. We do have this extra category of other public because we do have students that come back to us from a different, from a magnet school or another public school. So we did add that in here. And you can see that the grand total of students placed grades 1 through 5 was 13. The bulk of our school placement typically happens in kindergarten. And then most often they're pleased with where they are and they don't look for a change.
And I have to say that history has shown us when we first rolled out the Groton 2020 plan and had intra-district magnets at each of the school, we saw a great deal of activity the first couple lotteries. But it does seem like it's definitely kind of gotten into a groove, and people are, likely to stay at the elementary school that they've signed on to. But the lottery also gives us really the ability, when we've saved some of the military seats, to be able to move and offer other magnet schools to newcomers as well, even during the summer. And we do look back on the wait list too, Lauren. I don't know how much you do with the registrar with that, but I know that you all do look back at the wait list and you look at who's coming in as well.
Yeah, this is the bulk of the work that I do is with the lottery and the wait list. And we don't place students if there's a school and a grade level where there's a wait list, we won't place a student that's coming in into that school or grade level if there's currently a wait list. We always take from the top of the wait list first. But if there's a spot at a school in a grade where there's no wait list and a military family comes in and is interested in that position, we do try to honor that and place them as a magnet family, particularly if they got their orders after, the lottery had closed.
Right.
And so over time, this has really been our historical lottery demand by grade level. And you can see that, again, kindergarten is always our highest demand when it comes to the lottery. And our total demand in this year was 138 compared to last year, which was 127. So we did have a nice bump in that. And please stop me. I know I'm going through this. Please stop me if you have any questions. And so just as a reminder, because it's a nice visual and I'm a visual learner, but these are our attendance zone schools. So if you take a look at like the area of Catherine Kanowski versus Northeast, you can see where those borders are. And so when we talk about attendance zone school, anyone living in one of these particular areas falls into that, what we refer to as attendance zone school. And so I know you appreciated this last year because it had come up in years past. Like, where are these kids, right? Like, how do we know who's at what school? And so I really like to look at this year over year to see, what the answer to that really is. And so again, if you remember, this is the current school, meaning this is where the kids are going to school in August, in a couple weeks. Okay, so these kids are going to CB. And then across the top is their attendance zone school. So what area are they slated to go to school in based on where they live? So as you can see, this area here that's highlighted, these are the students that are going to that school, but are also zoned for that school, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. And so across here, you can see, so Charles Barnum, the majority of the students at Charles Barnum live within the Charles Barnum attendance zoned area, okay, for a grand total of enrollment as of last week with 310 students. Same thing here. You can see that 170 of CK's students are part of that attendance zone, where they have quite a bit of students that come from other areas of the district.
So with the CK, that you mean like 47 come from Charles Barnum,
Yes.
39 come from Mystic River.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So this is another big one. So the kids that go to Northeast Academy, right?
Mhm.
We get a large number of those kids coming from Charles Barnum, and we have a large number of those kids coming from Mystic River to date. Yep. And so based on attendance zone, this is what our numbers would look like. So if we didn't have a lottery, if all the students went to the school that they were in the area they were living in, we would have well over 400 kids at Charles Barnum. We would have 200 kids, 223 kids at CK, and so on.
And so the lottery does a lot to support us because, we couldn't have 437 all Charles Barnum without building a new school and making it bigger. But so this is really very helpful to us, as part of the Groton 2020 plan. We saw that we did not want to just continue to redistrict as it had been done prior to, Dr. G and I, Dr. Grenier and I getting here. So we haven't had to redistrict. And this has it's balanced our schools, and it's provided a wonderful opportunity for our families to either be in the school that they're zoned for or just choose a magnet that they would prefer.
This doesn't include special ed students, right?
This is all students.
All students. Okay.
All students, where they're currently going to school versus where they live.
It's K-5. It doesn't include preschool or pre-K.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it does not. This is K-5 only.
Jen, you have a question?
So Mystic River Magnet School, current enrollment or projected current enrollment is 401. Is that a fair number for that school to have?
Minus the preschool that has typically been housed there. Yeah, that is a fair
Well, we're seeing
enrollment.
427 right now.
No, she's right. There's
go,
currently 401 students in K-5 enrolled at Mystic River.
Yep.
Yeah, so when we go there and they say that they're like bursting at the seams, they truly are compared to the other schools, because Mystic River and Thames River, right, are pretty much the same school, right?
Mhm.
Size-wise, and they have like roughly 50 to 60 more students.
Mhm.
So how do you determine, and why do you think it's appropriate to have like 400 students at Mystic River?
Well, so Thames River is actually, their enrollment is on the lower side right now. This was
Okay.
close. Yeah, this was that we can house more. I mean, that's based on the number of classrooms, the number of FTEs. We stick within that class size, that maximum number for each grade level. So that is an appropriate number for that school and what they can house at this time.
And while the preschools classrooms, there's 4 of them actually that are moving over to Mary Morrison. So you're losing those students from that school going over to Mary Morrison. But at Thames River, they still will have their 6 sessions of 3-year-olds. And those numbers can be 15 to 18 throughout the year. So they will still, but they're not accounted for in the 356 at Thames River, Jen. Right. So you can add on, 60 more kids at the beginning of the year who will be attending the preschool.
Let's make this apple to apple comparison then, because I thought my understanding of this chart was like it was excluding the kids that are in pre-K.
You're right, but there's no other schools that have housed preschool, pre-K, except in the past Mystic River and now Thames River. So those are additional students that are at Thames River. Will be at Thames River.
But my concern is not Thames River. My concern is Mystic River at 401.
Is that number, the 401 doesn't include pre-K, right, Susan?
It does not.
No. But enrollment is also down at Thames River. We can still take more kids in to kindergarten through grade 5. That's what I'm trying to, I hope I'm articulating that the right way. There's still room for Thames River where we don't have as much wiggle room at Mystic River. We have some grades that are capping out at Mystic River, meaning we won't place any more students there. But there is still room at Thames River for students who may be coming in.
But
And
when
we're
I look
seeing,
at,
we're,
but when
I'm
I
sorry.
look at, and maybe I don't understand, but maybe when I look at chart number 4, it said waitlisted Mystic River 15, Thames River 17. So if you still have space, excluding the military seats, then why do we have the 17 slots that are waitlisted?
Because it could be the particular grade level that the demand is for, meaning we're not opening those particular seats. There's a lot of factors that go into whether or not we can open seats. We do want to take, and we plan to do that later this week. We want to take one final look to see if there are any more seats that we can open. Because we have had some movement more recently in terms of who's exiting the district, who's coming into the district. So there may be some adjustments that can be made, and we plan to do one last final look at our wait list and our enrollment again to see if we can open up a few more seats at each school.
It's August 10th, and today they were lined up at the door. So we see sometimes a burst of new enrollment at this time. It's not unusual for Groton to see that.
And Thames River is typically one of the schools where we do see that, the later enrollment. So we also take that into account too when we're opening seats. We do try to account for that and then do a final look again. But yeah, Thames River is typically one of the schools where we see more of a last minute rush for enrollment.
Yeah. Okay. I know. I'm just concerned, right? Because Charles Barnum, I know size-wise, 310, that makes about sense. Catherine Konowski, but Mystic River and Thames River stood out, Northeast Academy. Between the last 3 schools, I think the weighting should be a little bit more proportional.
Lauren, does that mean
that it depends on the class ranges, so it may not be. So whatever, maybe what you could share just for general knowledge is the max amount of students that could be in a school, not necessarily by grade, right? So I might think 401 is large just because compared to the other schools, they're all in the low 300s with exceptions of Thames River. So that's, could be distorting my view.
You remember too, Jen, that part of the mission of moving the preschool out of Mystic River this year it allows for 4 classrooms to be used for upper grades. Should we start to see another submarine come in, or all of those being built and more families coming through? So it will give us a little more room. Mystic River, so I know that there's at least 4 classrooms, but we can give you a better number than that. We can figure out what is the capacity. Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, I'm just making sure that like one school is not absorbing more than necessary. So it's roughly like 40 to 50, right? More. So why can't, and like I said, you can't, right? Because there's other things that I'm not considering. I'm just from an equity standpoint, and the teachers and the principals are saying that they're bursting at the seams. I would likely look at these numbers, not knowing anything else, and say, yep, it makes sense because you have 40, and in some cases, like 90 students more than other schools within the district, right? So if they have more, when we're making investments during the budget season and we need to think about substitute tutors, whatever it may be, we need to consider that Mystic River has more of a student population than some of these other schools. And that's all I'm just concerned about at this point is the equity for the teachers, the staff.
You all set, Jen?
So Jen, just to
Yeah.
clarify, because I want to make sure I understand what you're looking for. Are you looking for me to give you the number of FTEs and like the total enrollment in each of those grade levels so you can see what that max capacity is for each classroom? Or are you looking for like the max capacity for the whole building, like in terms of almost like fire code? I don't think I understand.
Yeah, Lauren, very simple, right? Like what's the max a school can take? I don't want you to do all that work, right? Because all I'm concerned about is Mystic River has 401, right? And Thames River has 356. So those 2 schools I could do a fair comparison on because they're basically the same schools, just built a little differently. But capacity wise, those should be the same. So do we take 25 students roughly from Mystic River and move it to Thames River, right? Because when we just and you guys can do that analysis like and then share it with like within yourself that hey, is it adequately staffed from an FTE perspective? Are the kids being supported adequately? And maybe they are, right, for it, but I just want to make sure that they have 40 to 50 and in some case if you're comparing it to Charles Barnum, like 90, that that they have the resources that they need.
Jen, I would like to say that we created those school pages with all of that data purposely for budget season to kind of showcase those things. But I do think what we're seeing right now is we're not filled to full capacity at this point yet. And Mystic River, we've already removed the preschool. Thames River doesn't have them accounted for, but they will have at least 60 more students being added just in the preschool for next year. So it's just you're not seeing it on this chart, but we'll try to work that out so you can see. When the schools were first built, they were saying capacity was 500 to 600 students. So those schools were built that way, and we put the staff in there to account for, the larger school and the larger number of students and staff.
Can those schools actually hold 500 students?
They have been, yeah, with the preschools. With the preschools, yes. Yep. And high 400s to 500. But this year, Mystic River won't get the preschools because they're going to, Mary Morrison, and we do have a couple extra classrooms available. So should we see a growth spurt, as may be anticipated, we'll be able to appropriately staff it and have those classrooms filled.
Should we be subtracting numbers from that 401 at Mystic River? Taking away the number of students in the preschool from
No,
that?
it's already been done.
No.
There's no preschool students
That's what I
listed in this
thought.
chart.
So they
No.
still, so you're not going to put any more students in Mystic River, are you?
I don't know if we have more capacity, Lauren. Are there places where Mystic River can take more students?
Yes, there are. And that's what I'm wondering if it would be helpful to see the enrollment report that I have where it
Yeah,
literally
that would
shows
be
you.
helpful.
I think
Yeah.
that might give you a good visual to
Yeah, let's do
understand
that.
where we are with our total enrollment and capacity in that building and what actual capacity would be in terms of the number of classrooms we have and the number of students in each classroom. Because that's how my brain's thinking about capacity, right? Like we know
Yeah.
that in kindergarten, we don't put more than 20 students in a class. So 20 times the 4 classrooms at Mystic River. So it might be helpful to see the enrollment report. And then if you still have questions after that, I'm happy to sit with you, like talk it through, or give you whatever else you're looking for. That might be a good starting place, Jen.
Okay, whatever you think is best. I just don't want to create additional work.
No, this is something I track
It's a
all the
report
time
that we look
anyways.
at. Yeah.
Yep.
It's
I
no
literally
extra
look
work.
at it every day.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's no additional work. I'll just send it over to you.
Great.
We can send
Thank
it to
you.
the board maybe in a board note.
Any other questions about on page 9? No? Okay. Thank you, Lauren. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Oh, I'm trying to.
you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Fitch High School exit survey, attachment number 4.
Is someone going to post the
Kate, do
slides?
you
Or do
have
you want me
that one,
to?
please? Attachment 4.
Yep, I'll share it. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So this first slide is really just some things I highlighted at graduation about the class of 2026. We had 23 students earn the seal of biliteracy. Our band placed 6 at nationals. We had 11 students that plan to enlist in the military. And then we have a growing pathway programs at Fitch where we've grown in the number of pathway choices that we have in Ed Rising, NJROTC, EMT, and our certified nurses graduates. So we were proud of that. Sports, we were successful. We had 42 all ECC seniors this year, 3 players of the year, 10 all state. We were ECC champs in 3 sports. And very proud that we had 3/4 of our seniors take at least one AP, IB, or ECE course at their time at Fitch High School, which is a great achievement compared to previous years. And our seniors earned close to $5 million in scholarships, with many getting full rides. So that wasn't part of the survey, but just definitely stuff I was proud of regarding our seniors. So our exit survey for our seniors, there was I didn't include a slide here, but I know that you guys want to know what types of questions we asked on the survey. First, we asked some identifying questions like their name. We get their personal email so that we can stay connected with our graduates. We get their cell phone if they're willing to share it. So again, we can connect later. And then also we had about 40 of our seniors that showed a willingness to want to participate in our alumni panel in January when we have seniors, our former graduates, come back and talk about their experiences in college. So we'll be able to reach back out to them. But really, the survey just asks, what is their post-secondary plan? If it's college, we have them identify which one they're going to, what their plan major might be. If they have an internship plan or an apprentice plan, then they share that with us. If they choose a workforce destination, that's a question on there where they identify their job assignment what branch of the military they might attend. Some shared that they're planning a gap year plan, which we'll go over in a second, and then if they have any volunteer planning. So this first chart is our pie chart is really just what their responses were. So we have about 71% that are planning on pursuing schooling further. As you can see, 125 of our students are planning to go to a 4-year degree. 35 students are planning to go to a 2-year degree. And then you can see the other things listed there. But again, if you slide down a little bit, Kate, so 71% total in schooling, 6% are planning to go into the military, and then 9% attending the workforce and apprenticeship, with the remaining ones either choosing other or planning a gap year. One thing I just wanted to share, this is a bulletin board that the counselors, school counseling put on this year, which I thought was pretty cool, where they had the seniors, once they decided what they were going to do, they each created their banner of their decision. And it didn't have to be a college decision. It could be like there's a banner with a nurse on it. There's a banner for going into the fire department, things like that. So there were more than just these banners. They were shared. They spilled over the bulletin board as well. So the colleges that are graduates indicated that they were attending, and there's no order in how I put these on here. I was just going through the responses and placed them there. But our lead school is UConn. We have 41 of our graduates that are planning on attending UConn next year or very soon. For the other state schools like Central Connecticut, Eastern, Southern, and Western, we had 35 total that are planning on attending those schools. And we had 26 that are planning on attending the Connecticut State Community College. And then all the other schools are listed there. And if there's no questions so far, I can keep going.
I don't
And
have
then
any questions, Matt, but I do have, I appreciate your handout, but
yeah,
I myself, this isn't the kind of survey I was looking for from the high school. I was looking for more like questions. Do you think you would, let me give you an example. Were enough elective classes offered for you to explore different career opportunities? Did school make learning exciting and encourage you to continue your education? More so we can find out how their experience was at Fitch High School. Not so much where they're going after high school, they're taking a gap year. More like, how can we improve the experience of students at the high school? Do they think they were getting a excellent education at Fitch High School?
okay. Well,
That's more what I was looking at. I mean, this is a beautiful handout, but it doesn't tell me anything that I was looking for. And that's why it's been on the referral list since April 2025, trying to see what the exit survey was actually like that the high school was doing.
Okay.
And that's
So
just
this
me
is
personally as one board member. I wasn't, this is beautiful, but it's not what I was looking for.
okay, but this is the exit survey that we give, and I'll take your feedback for future years. Similar to, I guess, climate survey type questions, but as an exit survey as they're exiting. So we could definitely look into adding that. This survey is part of School Links, which is a program. So they complete it through School Links. So I'll work with the counseling department to see how we can edit that survey as well. But just to finish up, there's only one. This is the last slide. These are the besides college, these are the areas that the other choices that our graduates are planning to either what military force they're going to, EMT, and so forth. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that we had 20 that were choosing a gap year for different reasons, and then 19 chose other. But in future years, Beverly, I'll definitely, next year I'll take that in consideration. And we, if again, maybe up with an email saying the specific questions that you'd like, I'll share them with the counselors, and we will consider adding them for future years.
I
Any
think
other
another
questions?
way to get good feedback from kids is just letting them circle up and talk to us. So we've had different focus groups over the years of a variety of different kids come together to talk and to have conversations. So I think that's another good way to get some information as well.
And we do that. Yep, we
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Plenty of that.
Yep.
Any
Any other-
question for? None? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I still have a question. Sorry. This is Mike Whitney.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
So Bev, I agree with your comments. I suggest a way forward would be for the administration to basically what I'm looking for, and I think you are too, Bev, is the feedback, as Susan just mentioned. And so maybe the administration and Fitch could come up with questions and pass it by us sort of like mid-year, and then get that done in time. My other question is, my one question though is, are students required to complete this survey to graduate?
That's a great question. And they are. We actually, at one of our last senior class meetings, we had them all attend the auditorium. We went over some of the end of the year events. It was actually right before we were going to Seaside Beach Club for their senior trip. At the end of that, we asked them all to complete the survey then. And then those that didn't, we were able to actually on graduation day when they came in to sign in to get to their, to wait in their classrooms and so forth. They were required to fill this out before they actually went to the classroom that they waited before we lined up. So we did get 231 responses
Oh, good.
for this survey,
Good.
which is, I think, pretty darn close to 100%. I forget what our graduation number was, but it was pretty close to that number.
Thank you. And that's, I thought it was probably required. And so this is the one hook we've got. And I'm not looking for a long survey, but a few feedback questions where they're basically compelled to answer.
Definitely. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it. And we can definitely, you guys can give your input on the types of questions you'd like, and we'll work on getting those included. Thank you.
I have to say that the survey that you've done is one that I've seen in all the districts I've been in, New Canaan, Monroe, and Stanford. And so it is kind of the places they'll go, like trying to collect that data on where are they planning on going next. But I do like to have something in the feedback loop. That might be interesting too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate this, but I want to know more, better. I want some ideas, I want something better than this, like where you're going. How was the school? Did it help you transition from high school to real life? Or questions like that. So we can know what we need to do to improve the high school. I mean, I want to be like on America's 100 top high schools in Connecticut or in the country, So what do we need to do? What do the students need? I ask students that graduate, how was Fitch, and especially when they do a year of college, how did Fitch prepare you for college? Did the guidance counselors help you? I mean, we need to know stuff like that. I mean, gap year, that's good to know, but we need to know more quality questions.
I think when Matt talks about them coming back in January or coming back over the holidays or even a year after, they've been out, that's where you really will understand better about the transition and how well prepared they felt.
Yeah, but the board doesn't know because we're not there to hear that.
Well, maybe it's data we can collect from them.
Well, you could do it on a better survey. You can collect that data. Jen, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Thank you. My question is, right, like, so this is great. So, we have like roughly 70% of the students going to college, 10% doing like trade, going into a career path. I just want to make sure that our classes, are sort of structured in the same manner for where the need is. So if our students, like a traditional high school, pumping them out to go to college or whatever, and like that the classes and the class offerings that we have is sort of structured to support that. I know there's currently a big push for, the trades and all of that, but we must never lose sight of the competencies and the needs of the certain schools. I know kids make decisions to go to a technical school and so forth. I don't want us to lose that. And if maybe at some future date, or maybe someone from curriculum can share how the classes and the structure of like the courses that we provide support like the needs of the students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what we've been, that's been our big push where we're working on, all the different career pathways. The machine shop that's just got built, NJROTC. We're trying to create pathways as we realize that college is not for everyone, and we want to make sure we prepare our students. So we're working on it, and I think we've made some pretty big steps in the last 5-10 years, and we're going to continue to make that our mission.
Yes, but I just want to make sure that, like, I know you're focusing in on that, but I don't want us to lose sight that there is demand for the students who do want to go to like the 4-year, 2-year colleges, and that we suddenly don't eliminate all of the core classes that will help them achieve that as well.
And I think evidence to that is the 75% that took the, either an AP, an IB, or had, an ECE, early college experience class, a dual enrollment class where they are experience, they're going through an actual college course. So for those kids, the opportunity is there, and 75% are taking advantage of those opportunities, which I think is a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, I know you reported on one. You probably have it, like the actual numbers, but for a student in our high school, what is sort of have like a bar chart of 0 to 1 classes, 2 to 3 classes, 4 and higher of those, or whatever you think is like a good natural break point, so that we can sort of see not just once they took one class, right? How many more classes are they taking? Because I don't want it to be like they just take one and they're one and done, right?
No, and I don't think that's the case that often, Jen. If you remember, I did a presentation on all, the number of ECE classes that were, it was, I'm not even going to say what the numbers are right now, but that was evidence that we certainly, and I'll try to share more detail, but we certainly have a lot of students that aren't just taking one college class. Most of them are actually close to 6 or 8.
Yeah.
So, and we have that data. I presented on that in the spring or in the winter.
Yeah, whenever, or even like when you come over to present for budget, even if it's just a handout and you don't present it, just like a little, like I said, bar chart.
Definitely. We can add to, I'll add this year's data to the previous one so you can see, the trends and how it has trended. I'll actually, if you'd like, I can share the presentation I gave you because it shows the upward trend that we've had in most of those courses.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions? All right, I don't see anyone's hand up. So thank you, Matt.
Matt, I think this presentation would be really good on the website, or even to share it with families that even with the news for the nest, a little blurb about it and maybe a link. I think
That
it's
sounds good.
important for them to see, the places they'll go. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Fitch High School and Groton Middle School sports. That's attachment number 5. Is Mark is on? I think this is
Yes.
his.
Yep, I'm on.
Okay.
And you're still
So
at
I was
school.
Yes, unfortunately. So I was asked to kind of go over our middle school and high school offerings, and I kind of put that together in that handout that hopefully everybody has. I don't know if that could be put up on the screen.
Yeah, I can share that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Yep. So I labeled it student athletic pathways. So if you go to the second page there, kind of what we're trying to do, provide every student with opportunities to participate, compete, and develop leadership skills to improve wellness, build lifelong connections through athletics and physical activity. And in doing so, obviously, community programs, the programs at Groton Middle School, programs at Fitch High School will help, student athletes, college, career, military, and lifetime fitness. So that's kind of the goal, something that they'll take with them moving forward. And a quick snapshot of Fitch High School. So remember the Eastern Connecticut Conference. The conference consists of 19 local high schools. We're one of those, provides championship opportunities for 30 varsity athletic programs. And that conference recognizes scholar athletes, sportsmanship coaches, and players of the year for each sport. The next slide, Groton Middle School, same thing. Remember the Eastern Connecticut Middle School Conference, which we started actually, almost, I think 5 years ago when I became the district-wide athletic director. Myself and 2 other ADs that are local began this kind of partnership, so to say, conference type atmosphere with all our, 12 local middle schools. So it's been very successful, providing that championship opportunity for 9 athletic teams that we currently have at Groton Middle School. And then at the end, we have a championship tournament and provide championship awards to those teams. So the next slide here, basically what I did here, and this is just for the fall season, then you'll see the winter and the spring, is I wanted to kind of show what we offer each season, and I can explain a little bit more of that. So you can see the sports there on the left-hand column offered at Fitch High School, from cross country all the way down to unified soccer. And then the sports we offer in the fall for Groton Middle School, again, cross country straight down to unified soccer. The intramural programs that are offered, and again, these intramural programs are offered just because it says flag football. It doesn't mean it's offered in the fall. It's actually, we offer that in the spring. And then what community programs are offered along with that sport. So you can see here in some cases, like cross country, for example, we offer it at the middle school, but there really is no, we do offer a Girls on the Run program, but there really is no community program for our, cross country in a sense. We offer summer camps, which you can see there in the far right-hand column, which are put on by our high school coaches and student athletes. So we've at least attempted to try these summer camps, and some have been very successful, and some, we continue to work on and trying to increase numbers to support both middle school and high school athletics. So if I can give you an example too, sorry, back up. So in sport of field hockey, for example, you can see there that the only sport that supports the field hockey program in a sense is our intramural program at Groton Middle School. And for example, for this year, last year we ran the intramural program. We had 15 students from the middle school sign up to run that program. And again, there's no feeder program. There's nothing within the town that helps support that. And of those 15 students, 5 of those students were 8th graders, and all 8th graders have signed up for field hockey this fall. So we're trying to support those, again, high school sports, middle school sports, and trying to get them awareness of sports maybe they would not normally know of because it's not offered throughout the community.
And you've had a lot of success with these summer camps. It looks like you really have coaches supporting this summer, many of them, right?
Right. Yep. And our, we've had a good turnout for those this year. For example, with football, we had not offered a summer camp for football in many years. We offered one this year. We had a great turnout, very success. They publicized the youth with camper of the day, those types of things. So they got to work with some of our high school coaches and our student athletes to help them learn the sport of football in preparation for their upcoming season as well. And then if you move on to the next winter season, you can kind of see the same thing here. Basketball is obviously very supported in the community. We have the 2 middle school boys and girls basketball. We offer an intramural co-ed basketball at the middle school. And then there's obviously programs throughout the community that support that as well, along with our camps. And you can see that moving on down, even though, for example, like I said, indoor track, there it's kind of tough at the middle school level, but we do offer track camps for in the community for the student athletes as well. And then as you keep going, the spring season, the same thing. The sports offered at the high school, the camps, and then at the bottom there you can see under the intramurals with the yoga, fitness club, archery, and ultimate frisbee. Those are some others that we offer that are just mixed in throughout the different seasons: the winter, the fall, and the spring. The next slide, again, just is the opportunities that are offered just at Fitch High School. Those are the sport teams, fall, winter, spring. And then the next slide as well, Groton Middle School and the teams that are offered there. And all those teams there are part of that, like I mentioned before, that Eastern Connecticut Middle School Conference that supports those programs. The only sport that is not a member of that, because we're the only school in the area that does offer softball. No other middle school in our area does offer softball. So we have to go out, and I've tried to get into 2 other conferences, one northern one and one on the shoreline. I've had no success due to the size of our middle school, but we're able to pick up games, with a couple teams in Rhode Island, and then a game here or there with some local middle school teams as well. And then the next slide, the intramural offerings, again, not to a specific season, but those are some of the things that we've offered over the course of the years. And then some of our athletic partners that we coordinate within our community. I'm sorry, this one is tough to see. I apologize for that. I guess when I was looking on my screen, it looked clear, but again, these are the camps that we offer our high school coaches and athletes to support our local youth athletes as well.
What's the age range for these camps?
Usually elementary through middle.
Okay.
Middle school age students.
That's
and then
great.
There's just a quick snapshot of the opportunity. So again, Fitch High School, 32 varsity programs, 18 sub-varsity programs, GMS, like I said, 9, and the 12 plus intramural programs. We are partnerships with 20 plus community programs and our multiple annual summer camps. So giving our student athletes and students within the Groton community over 70 athletic opportunities and wellness opportunities. So I think that's pretty strong for our community. And then just in regard to the opportunities, I know you're looking at numbers, but in regard to intramurals, we've had over 230 students participate in intramurals this past school year from 25-26. We had over 400 students register to participate in GMS athletics. And again, that's for those 9 sports that we do offer. And Fitch High School, you can see here, 548 unique students participating in at least one sport. So that's at a minimum of 500. And then we've had 278 multi-sport athletes participating in multiple sports here at the high school, which is about a 66% of our student enrollment do participate in athletics here at Fitch High School. And then that's kind of what I got.
You might want to talk about field usage too, because we share all our fields with the community, the rec camps, and other organizations. And I know that you have a real big responsibility in making sure that there's fair play, and especially between the middle school and the high school fields. So
right.
I don't know.
Yep.
I know soccer is very popular, and it looks like every soccer field must be pretty full in the fall.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's a good point, Susan. Thank you. For our middle school and high school sports, the middle school has priority. So they normally at the end of the school day, the middle school will practice from let's just say 2:45 to the first late bus. And the two teams in this case will use soccer, for example, because they use the turf field. The boys and girls rotate between the turf and the grass every other day for practices, and then games normally when one's home, the other's away. So that's how that schedule works out. And then after that, our high school teams come on, and usually either practice or have games from roughly 5:30, or depending on if it's a game or a practice. Usually games start around 5:30 and end 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever it may be. And then practices usually as soon as the middle school's over, the high school jumps on, and then they go till usually 9 o'clock at night. So it's definitely a task in trying to coordinate all those schedules because everybody wants turf time, which is understandable, and not everybody can get it on any given day. So trying to coordinate those, basically it's the high school that's impacted on that, and in the soccer program specifically, but getting those programs turf time and trying to line them up with games when they know that they'll be playing on a turf the following day, and trying to get them a practice on the game because it is different playing a soccer game on grass than it is turf. So, yep. And it's a daunting task. And we, our coaches are very supportive in one another and trying to work through things to make sure that everybody gets a fair shake, at least from the high school perspective. Yep.
Okay, I have two hands up, Jen and then Adrian.
I have several questions.
Sure.
So the first one is, I'm familiar with the community youth athletic partners. Would you say that that the cost of some of those programs allow our, let's say, lesser income families to also participate, so that in the future at the middle school and high school level that they have opportunities at the varsity level? Because if they don't get exposure until high school, and I know we can't solve everything, Mark, but do you think that we have enough opportunity for the disadvantaged families of our community? So that's my first question. And then like I said, I have two more.
Yeah, no problem. So I think, we're trying to provide opportunities for students that they are unaware of within our community. Like I gave the example of field hockey. There's no feeder program. If we didn't offer that opportunity for those girls for that sport, they would not have any knowledge of the sport. And then by the time they get to high school, we're trying to teach them the sport and the skills to be somewhat successful, or even, being a part of a team. And that's a process. So I think we're doing a great job in trying to provide multiple opportunities for students. We're always open to more opportunities. I think one of the issues that we're running into a little bit is field space, because as I mentioned, the amount of space and time that there is and opportunities for those students is difficult. But I think when you look at the charts that I presented, and you look at the high school, the middle school, the intramural, you can see that we're trying to provide that opportunity through intramurals to help support those programs, whether it be at the middle school or the high school, that those students would have the opportunity to. So, I think we continue to improve. We continue to try to do the best we can. And, and we're open to suggestions from students. I talk to staff about it as well. What are things that, we added a co-ed golf program this year because students were interested in it. We had a staff member interested in doing it. So again, those students wouldn't have that opportunity if we didn't have those discussions.
And that's like what we do with a lot of extracurriculars, especially at the high school and middle school, that kids will feel very comfortable coming to administrators and letting them know if they want to start a club, or if they, and they'd have to have a staff member who would choose to do it too. I think your question is really good, Jen. I would assume that we would have some kind of a sliding scale for the community partners, but could you look into that, like with Parks and Rec, to see how do they take care of families that might need support and being able to play in community programs? You know, fortunately, we don't have a pay for play, so all kids have access to our school sports. But I don't know what, what is happening with community, with Parks and Rec and the other community signups.
Yeah, okay. So Mark, the couple following questions are more like policy and procedures and what we have in place, right? In regards to that, like I know, or at least in prior years, there used to be like, encouraging players to ask friends and families to either sort of similar to like a GoFundMe or sell tickets. Do you support that? Because do you feel like we do not provide enough funding for athletics?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, as the athletic director, I would always want more funding to help support our programs. But I think, a big step moving forward right now is that addition of the turf field at the high school. I think that's going to create opportunities, for the school community. It's going to create opportunities, that we'll be able to get more programs on both those fields to support that. But obviously, like I said, as an athletic director and supporting our sports programs, there's things that we could use or need, and so additional funding would obviously support that definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was just like concerned, like having our students like have to go fund, like similar to GoFundMe. I don't recall what it was particularly.
Sorry, I don't mean, I can say this. I mean, part of our fundraising that a lot of our programs do is to fundraise to purchase uniforms. So that is part of it, and nothing's the prices of everything have increased. The amount that we pay for baseballs a year is astronomical because of the setting and everything, and the woods and losing baseballs. So I think again, we can always use more funding to support athletics, and intramurals and the middle school. So yeah, I can't specifically say one thing over the other, but more funding to support athletics and students, obviously, I'm in full support of.
And that's really through our Parent Booster Club that helps to support that.
Yep.
Yeah. And then second, like we've faced a couple of issues like along the way. So I just wanted to understand what policies and procedures have been implemented to ensure that staff meet like either state or conference requirements, and also that your team are following guidelines set by either state or conferences. So what has been put in place recently, if
Yep,
anything?
that's a good question. Now, we work closely with central office and HR to make sure that our coaches are all compliant with updated certifications, first aid, CPR, the coaching certification, the concussion certification. So again, working closely with HR to make sure that those coaches are not stepping on the field. And that was part of our discussion we had tonight. Anybody who has a outdated, whether it is a first aid or a concussion, whatever it may be, you'll not be on the field until those are updated and submitted. So that we took a firm, obviously, stance in that.
Great. And then coaches following the guidelines.
Yep. No, our coaches, I think, do a pretty good job following conference and state guidelines, and that's all through communication, obviously at the state level, passed on down to the athletic directors and the coaches. So,
and when it's not adhered to, it shows up in evaluation.
Yep.
Mhm.
No,
I
you
can
hold
attest
them
to that.
accountable. Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Adrian?
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and I appreciate this. I'm sure you know that I've been asking, for more middle school sports for a while now. Um, and I guess, going to that, I'll go to, we said, you mentioned soccer is probably the most popular middle school sport, or at least one of the most popular. Um, and I mentioned this in meetings before, where when we had two middle schools we had either three or four. And I just say that because I know West Side had, a boys soccer, and this is just because I had a son in soccer at the time, and so I don't really know what girls were doing at that point. Um, but boys soccer had at least one at West Side and maybe two. But I was at Cutler, and there were two teams. And there were not cuts. So like if you came out and wanted to be on the team and showed up, then you got to play. And now, from what I understand, on both boys and girls, we've consolidated down to one team,
Mhm.
for boys, so presumably, roughly a third. I mean, maybe that team's got a big roster, so it's a little bit more. But and now it seems like sixth graders don't really get on the team. Seventh graders maybe, but from my understanding from my own children and other children since then, because my own children have been out of middle school for a while. There's been a lot of cuts. So why did we kind of reduce the size of the soccer program so much?
Well, I think that happened when, the decision was made to consolidate into the one middle school where you had, each school could, middle school at the time, whether it was Cutler West Side or Fitch Middle, could carry probably 30 kids on any given program. So throughout the district, maybe you did have 90, and that might be a high number, but you could have potentially 90 kids on a team. I think, from a coaching perspective, to have 90 kids on a team, like with one middle school, and try to get all those kids playing time and be happy and be a part of a program, I think you know, there's no way that could happen. So being a part of the conference that we're in right now and having being aligned with those programs that we all have, the 12 middle schools, everybody has their own program. It's up to each school, obviously, how many kids they carry. But I think at the middle school level, both coaches do a great job in trying to get as many kids into the games as possible. And from an athletic standpoint, to be honest, me personally, I would, if I took a team of 40 kids, you're playing a game. I don't know how any coach could get 40 kids into a game without, playing 2 minutes a game or whatever it may be. That would be very difficult, I think, for a coach to balance that. And I think from a developmental standpoint, from a student athlete, like that's not really too much development, I would say, in regard to skills and improvement. I think, to make cuts is to be able to work with a certain number of kids, to have some success, to introduce the sport and the skills that are necessary. And then, there are, like I showed before, a fair amount of opportunities within the town to support soccer, at that point. We are also, Mr. Bass and I received an email from a soccer company looking or interested in possibly running a camp at some point. So we're in discussions with them currently, trying to get more information about it and what that might look like.
Is that during the school year, Mark?
Yeah, that would be
really interesting.
Yeah.
We even
so-
talked about intramurals, but field space was an issue.
Yeah.
So
During
I can
that season.
speak to that a little bit if you want in terms of
Yeah.
the program. So
Thank you, Sam.
yeah, no problem. It's from the Connecticut Junior Soccer Association. So they offer a 6-week program with 60-minute sessions a week for grade 8 and under. So they'll actually pay for the coach as well as any equipment. And, every student gets a t-shirt as well.
So that does offer an opportunity for students to participate. So that's something that Mark, Peter, and I are looking into.
Mhm.
And then during the summer, we offered a soccer clinic, which was great. It was July 7th through August 6th. And that was 2 nights a week. I want to say it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, right?
Yep.
Later in the evening. That some of our soccer coaches, like Jake Brown, participated in. So that was another opportunity for our students. But obviously, going back to the point of field space, right? And when we would be able to offer that intramural is something that we do need to look at, as you saw in Mark's slide presentation. So I oversee the after school clubs and intramurals, that aspect with Mark. We do have a lot of different offerings that do take up field space. So that is definitely logistically a challenge for us.
Yeah, I guess where I was going is, to me, the turf field seems like, I mean, I guess the middle school may get priority, but they really have their total number of students that are allowed to participate has been reduced. So that's why, and for some reason, and I'll get to this question in a second, I don't know why we're not using the baseball field anymore in the fall or at least we're underutilizing it, in the fall for soccer, because I believe
No,
that
we
was used for soccer.
we still
And
use
now
that
I think it's used just one day a week though, right?
multiple days depending on the schedule and what that may look like.
Oh, all right. All right. Yeah. I thought that the use had been cut way down on that facility, but I guess where I'm going is, um, just because now we have a school with, close to 1,000 students, maybe we just need more teams. We don't need to run one team with 90 kids. I mean, we had two teams at Cutler. We had the main team, I guess, and then a sixth grade team. I don't know if you call it varsity or not in seventh and eighth grade or in middle school, but we had multiple teams then, and I don't really understand. I mean, there's obviously school districts that are much bigger than ours, and I assume that they have multiple teams or ways of doing that. So I guess it just it kind of breaks my heart to hear how many students want to play and would not have the skills at sixth grade and get cut because they don't have the skills because they didn't participate in GSE or because their parents don't have the ability to participate with GSE and the travel teams because one thing that the school district provides that those don't is transportation. And especially when you get into the Groton, the travel teams, I mean, that is a parent commitment. So you need to have parents that are off on the weekends and that can drive all week long. I mean, you pretty much need a parent that doesn't work or has, limited work hours to be able to handle those, or you have to get other parents to help you out. But so I see those as great resources, just like the camp. But we have a lot of families that really can't afford and to do those programs and may very well be fantastic athletes if we as a district, support them at an earlier age. So, I mean, to me, I see the use where I've spent a fair amount of time up at the turf field. It seems like it gets more use by the high school than the middle school. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, because the amount of programs offered.
Yeah.
And again, it's seasonal based on the conference and the conferences that we're in and what the programs that are offered within that conference.
Yeah, I mean, the skeptical side of me would say, well, maybe we're not offering more at the middle school because high school needs the space and we don't want to, and we're trying to give it to the high school. But I don't want to say that that's what's happening, but to me, it's just a shame that we're not giving middle schoolers quite as much opportunity. And I know the intramurals are great, but I don't think that they're the same as the team atmosphere and the camaraderie that you get with a team, which I know that you appreciate. But yeah, so I guess, I mean, I guess we can hear from the board if they would desire to see, you know, a larger program with that. And I don't know about, you know, basketball, if that's, you know, because I guess with all of the teams, you know, we went to one school that was twice as big. Did we just cut all of our offerings into basically half as many student spots? You know, so does that, you know, track and cross country don't cut anyone, correct?
Correct.
All right, yeah, so that's great that everyone that wants to participate. But so I guess it's soccer and then maybe to a lesser extent basketball. You know, I just don't know what happens with basketball.
Well,
So I'd
well, I
be
think too,
curious to
sorry.
oh, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, I think also, you know, when you're looking at, you know, if not being a member of a conference. So for example, with softball, you know, and I know that we talk about transportation and things like that, but not being a member of a conference at that point now, like we're traveling all over the place to try to get games. So that creates a whole other issue in regard to funding and you know, providing a somewhat championship opportunity for our girls in the sport of softball at the middle school level. I mean, there's, like I said before, we're the only sport, only middle school in the area that offers that sport. So in order for us to, you know, fill in some games, we're traveling to, you know, Charahoe, we've traveled to uh, Guilford, we've traveled all over the place to try to get these games. So it's, and I understand what you're saying about, you know, opportunities, but there, you know, there is more to it in regard to that as well.
And I just want to add one
Yeah,
quick thing too. We went from having, you know, there were 3 middle schools, there were 3 gyms. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, you know, right now we have one gym in the middle school. So that adds a challenge. Same thing with the soccer fields. When we had 3 middle schools, we had 3 soccer fields.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. And that's why I was kind of bringing up the baseball field. Maybe there could be more utilization down there if it's not already fully utilized in the fall. Um, with you know, for other things. Um, but yeah, I get that. I guess I would just, you know, like I said, preferably I would rather see the soccer program supported a little bit more so that when it gets to high school, it's not just the kids that you know, came from a family that could afford to do those additional supports, you know, with the private clubs. Um, I've got a couple of other quick questions, but one question I had is why it seems like our district, some sports don't allow seniors to play in JV sports. Is there a SEAC rule for that, or is there some kind of state rules for that, or is that just what we do in Groton?
No, I know you had brought this up in the past, and I thought I explained it, but maybe I didn't. So you have to have some form of an agreement with the opposing school in order for a senior to play a varsity level sport. Excuse me, a JV level sport. So, you know, for example, if and again, it's, you know, it's up to the opposing school. I mean, it would be tough to say, hey, we're going to keep you as a senior, and then we ask the opposing school, hey, do you mind if so and so plays on the JV game, and that school says no for whatever the reason. I mean, I think that's a tough pill to swallow for any kid. So there is that piece to it, but you know, I did work on, after we had spoken about, you know, basically if a student athlete moving forward is a member of the program for 3 years going into their senior year, they will still be a member of the team, but it will not guarantee them playing time. So that is an adjustment that we did make after our conversation, Adrian.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, quite honestly, I think being a member of the team is probably more important than I think everybody understands that when it's to
Yep.
varsity, playing time is going to be on skill. But the sport in general, I think should allow everybody to play as much as possible. Um, so
Can
yeah,
I just
that's
ask
that.
this
So
question, Adrian? Mark, do all
yeah,
the coaches know about this change
Yes.
kind of in
Yep.
your regulations?
Yep. And so we
And they'll be
discussed it.
reminded again this season, because I
Yep.
do feel that if you've had an athlete who's participated 3 years, then when it comes to their senior year, you know, they need to continue to play. So I'm glad that was put into place.
Yep.
yeah, and I've had conversations with other families with similar similar concerns when a student puts so much into a sport and then
Right.
they're just told they can't play, period, after an entire career of, or entire school career of playing. And then the other thing, and maybe you could just clarify for me, but I know we spend a lot of money on travel because of some teams being part of similar sized districts. So we have to go to like Stanford and places like that. Are there options to save money in travel and not be part of those conferences, or reasonable options, or is that just kind of the way we're stuck in the state now?
Well, I think that if we were not part of a conference, you'd obviously be considered independent, and conferences at the league level fill, as many as, we'll just use the sport of basketball. Some conferences fill up to 16 games, some fill 18, some fill 12. So no one, at least to my knowledge, gets a full schedule, and having to go out and schedule games. And I think, and also the way the state now, you get certain points for, wins against certain size schools. I think it's one of those things where you want to, playing a smaller school being a larger school does not give you the point value in when you qualify for the state tournament and your ranking as it would if you played a like side school or a larger school. So those are things, challenges that we do face. Transportation, like you said, it's difficult. It's difficult to find games. I'm still having a hard time finding basketball games, and especially I think when you're successful at certain sports, there's certain kind of aura that maybe certain teams don't want to play. So that it forces you to travel maybe more throughout the state than you would like. But like in boys basketball, for example, trying to find 19, 20th game and looking all throughout the state has been difficult. And I think it's because of some of the success that we've had. And our league provides us with a schedule. But if we weren't in that conference, I don't think we would be able to fill a schedule. I don't think our student athletes would be having these opportunities of, whether it's scholar athlete recipients, sportsmanship recipients, league championships, all conference awards. Like, we would lose out on all those things, which would be a detriment to our student athletes.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it sounds like you're doing a ton to try to make up for that. I mean, I guess I think of it from a budget. We've got to cut somewhere in if we had to reduce some offerings in places, and I'm not suggesting we do. If we had to kind of cut down a little bit of the offerings on some sports to make sure that we kind of encompass everybody and include everybody, throughout the district. I guess that's what was my thought on that, but it sounds like you're kind of on top of trying to make this happen as much as we can. So I appreciate that, and thank you for speaking tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Ian, you had your hand up, Ian. Sean, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to thank Mark and his team. I know how hard it is to coordinate these type of things, and I appreciate. I help coach U10 softball between Mystic and Groton, and I appreciate that you have the middle school team, because I think that really helps these girls out and gets them even footing with the boys. So much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Ian?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, Adrian covered a lot of the ground that I was going to ask about or speak about. So appreciate, and just kind of line my comments with him. And I also want to appreciate Mr. Romano's responses. And it sounds like, all good faith efforts are being put forth. So appreciate all that. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, Mr. Romano. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
and hanging in there with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. All right, the last item on the agenda is review of the referral tracking sheet. Anybody have any comments about the referral sheet for the CLW meetings?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, it is 9:00. Do I have a second?
Don't make me second it.
I didn't hear.
If
I'll
no one
second.
did, you can second it.
Thank you.
Okay. Sean?
I'll
So
second.
Andrea made the motion to adjourn. Sean made the second. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Oppose? Abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
you.
week.